If I could have your attention, I'd just like to make a public service announcement. There is a vehicle in the parking lot, a white Hyundai Accent, with the first three letters on the license plate, J91. Your lights are on.
I like your Santa. That's cute.
There isn't one. They took him down because they couldn't get him to work at 7 o'clock. Yeah, 7 o'clock. Okay. Okay, it's right at 7 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get things started here. Waiting on you, Mr. Van Zandt. Okay. Mr. Van Zandt, would you like to do the invocation?
If you'd like to join me in prayer, and then we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. Our gracious God, we thank you for this evening. Lord, we thank you for the privilege of living in the greatest nation in the world. We thank you for coming into this old world 2,000-something years ago and bringing your Son to atone for our sin and make a path for us to truly be free, Lord. We thank you for so many blessings. We thank you for the blessings that the school district's received even this week, Lord, in so many ways. We ask that you be with our students. Enjoy this blessed holiday season, Lord. We pray for safety. Lord, we pray for peace, love, and joy that you meant to bring into the earth, and that you did bring into the earth, Lord. And we pray that people enjoy it and come back healthy and refreshed and renewed in 2016. We pray for this board tonight as they deliberate on the items brought before them, Lord, that they'll have wisdom and discernment, Lord, and make wise decisions, that those decisions would honor you. Lord, we pray for those that are stationed around the world tonight that will not be at home for the holidays with their loved ones because they're protecting the very freedoms that allow us to meet. Lord, we thank you for all these blessings in Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to call to order the Clay County School Board meeting of December 17th, 2015. In doing so, I'd like to welcome all the citizens of Clay County. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to attend tonight's school board meeting. This meeting is our opportunity as your elected representatives to collaborate openly and make decisions that will decide the future of our public schools and the education of our children here in Clay County. If you wish to address the board, there will be an opportunity to speak for 3 minutes. Please fill out a card, which you will find located in the back of the room, and indicate the specific item number or the topic that you wish to speak about, and turn it in promptly. No additional cards will be accepted once the board moves to the discussion agenda. Your participation is welcome and appreciated. Okay, the first thing is the adoption of the consent agenda, but I will note that item C7 has been pulled to discussion. Items C11 and C12 were withdrawn. Those items were not ready yet. Okay. So I will entertain a motion.
Move approval.
I'll second.
Have a motion for approval by Mrs. Studdard and a second by Ms. Gilhousen. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. Recognitions and awards, we have none. Presenters, we have Pete Sutton from the Clay County Fair Association.
Madam Chair and school board members and Superintendent Van Zant, I appreciate you allowing me to be on the agenda. I'll be brief, but I just wanted to come and thank you for your support since I've been the manager of the Clay County Agricultural Fair. Been there for 10 years. This is my last official duty as the manager, and I wanted to take the opportunity to thank you, but also introduce you to my replacement, who is Ms. Tasha Hyder. She's a local person. We searched nationally, and she came in on top. She has been the director of special events at the town of Orange Park for the last 4 years. Comes with a great track record, and I look for great things in the future. But your support is vital to our success, and just know that it's very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next we have Sharice Stewart, CTE Director, is going to speak to our Career Academy 3-year strategic action plan.
Let it be noted for the record, Madam Chairman, that Ms. Stewart is going to be saying Roll Tide on New Year's Eve. She promised.
Noted duly.
It's in the record.
I'll even wear maroon that day.
Oh, my Lord.
How about that? I did promise. Well, good evening.
Good evening.
Hope y'all are doing well tonight. Hope you've gotten some of your Christmas shopping done. I left work this afternoon, and that's where I went to do some Christmas shopping, so I'm almost there. I just want to take a few minutes to speak to you all this evening, and I gave you a copy of the 3-year strategic plan. Should be on the dais up there for each one of you. Just wanted to come up and talk to you a little bit about the Academies of Clay. We're in our 2nd year of implementation. Wanted to give you a little bit of an update. Wanted to also discuss with you our 3-year strategic plan that we really rolled out or worked on it in June and then finalized it this past fall. But we've got so many good things going on with that 2nd year of implementation. The teachers are doing very well with it. The students are doing very well with it. And it's getting better every day. So just want to take a few minutes. If you have some questions, go ahead and ask. That's fine as well. You guys all know, because you helped to create these, our mission and our vision. Essentially, at the end of the day, those 2 items both talk about making our students lifelong learners. Okay? At the end of the day, it helps them to be both college and career ready, whichever one they're ready for, by way of industry certifications, by way of small learning communities. And that's what we're working on. On a daily basis, we're working to help make that better. In doing so, we've got our strategic plan. What you see in front of you are the 5 sections. So section 1 is about college and career readiness. Section 1 is a lot of the meat and potatoes of it. Section 2 is immediate task. Section 3, immediate task for district staff. Then we've got professional development, which is a huge piece, which I'll talk for a few minutes about. And then we've got Section 5, which is shifts in thinking and language. So as we move to the first slide, and that's y'all's first document. That's y'all's first document. This is really the interesting and the good part of it. So, because this is all the stuff about the kids. Everything else after this is not kids. It's all the adults doing the work. So, but this is the cool part. And I want you to know what teachers and staff and faculty and district folks, I want you to know what everybody's working on to really make this happen. So 15-16 school years, our current year, you see that everything in 15-16 falls into the latter years, so we'll talk mainly about 15-16. These are all things that we're doing this year to really kick off that Academies of Clay and the Wall-to-Wall Academy. So for middle schoolers, we're using the My Career Shines planning tool. One of my career specialists is here tonight, Ginger Burris, and she could tell you all kinds of cool things about that. I can tell you, I have an 8th grader, and she come home one night and said, "Mama, let me pull this up and show you what they say I'm going to be." So it's interesting. The kids are doing it. They're enjoying it. We're also working on the Academy Expos. You guys will receive some invitations to those. At all 7 high schools, they are a different night this year. Because kids want to see what's going on at the other schools. That's the whole point of it. So they all are on a different night. I think our first one is February the 8th, but I will send you a document that shows you all those dates and times. One of the other things we're doing is the Clay Chamber Career Fair virtual tour, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the career fair when we get to the 11th grade section. So for 9th graders, also we're looking at industry field trips, trying to get those students out there to see what those industries are truly about, and also getting lots of guest speakers in those classrooms. They may think they want to be a nurse, they may think they want to be a vet. A lot of times they think they want to be those things till they get into those situations. So we want to try to really get them and introduce them to those folks. 10th grade, college visits. I've heard of a lot of wonderful visits that they're doing already have done this year, and we'll continue to do that and build that program. Here's one of the real neat ones, so I need y'all to write this date down. February the 24th. February the 24th, 8:30 a.m. Write that down, if you will, and I'll send you an email too. But we've got quite an event planned. The Clay Chamber, the Clay County School District, Career Source, St. Johns River State College. We are all working together to create a career fair. It's going to be a very exciting event. We are working to get juniors there for this year. They're going to have 4 different segments in that, and so the first group will get there at 8:30. The last group will leave at 12:45. We'll incorporate all 7 high schools, and essentially they'll have a career fair portion where there'll be about 40 businesses in that portion of it, regional, Clay County, and our region. There will also be a section where they do a tour of St. Johns River State College campus, because one of the things we find is a lot of the kids have never set foot on that campus, and it's right here in their backyard. And it's very attainable for most students. So we want to get them a tour of that campus. The third piece of it is we're doing a job search kind of role playing. We've got some of the students from St. Johns River State College going to be there. We've got some of the Career Source folks going to be there. They're going to talk to them about resumes. They're going to talk to them about interviews and what to do and what not to do. And then, of course, the 4th rotation they'll go to is free pizza lunch. So they'll enjoy that as well. But it's going to be a really neat event. We're only going to be there from 8:30 to 1, so I would love for you guys to come by if you can. It's going to be an amazing event. Our students are going to bring their resumes with them if they're looking for summer employment, if they're looking for an internship. They can have some direct talk to these business owners and employers. So please try to come. The neat thing is, after we leave at about 12:15, 12:30, they'll kind of shut the doors for a little while, and they'll revamp, and then the afternoon portion will actually be open for the general public as a career fair. So it's very much a combined effort. It's taken lots of hours already to try to pull it off, and lots of scheduling just to get enough buses to get all those students there. So it's going to be a very exciting event. If you will look, 12th grade is not filled in until 17-18, because that's when those kiddos get there, remember? And they're going to work on a capstone project for that year. And then 9 through 12, in all of those grades, we'll be doing project-based learning, because that's what it's all about. So Section 2, which is also in your handout, Section 2 are those immediate tasks. Section 2 comprises of about 4 pages. Miss Studdard, you know I could probably talk for an hour or so, so we're just gonna go through that real quickly. Section 2, I want you to know that everybody has a role in this. This is a list of all the folks in Section 2 who have immediate tasks to make this strategic plan work. From career specialists like Ginger, who's here tonight, our business and our community members, and they are doing more and more each day. You should see an article in the paper in the next day or so, Clay County Utility Authority. We are now working with them in Middleburg High School in partnership with some internships. Starting in January, they have 4 or 5 of our students from Middleburg High School who will be starting interning there. They've already gone through the application process, the interview process. So just some exciting stuff. Business and community members are doing a great job at getting on board with us. Building administrators, district leadership, academy coaches, they're in the trenches every day. Post-secondary, St. Johns River, a lot of our other post-secondary institutions we're working with very regularly. Academy teams, academy team leads, content teams, and also AAIS, which you guys know those guys are our consultants that are helping us so much. Section 3. Again, I don't really want to get too much in the weeds tonight, but I want you to see on Section 3 there are some very specific tasks. So we had divided those up to specific people. So our supervisor of secondary ed's got a lot on her plate. Our director of professional development, Dr. Weiskopf, has got a lot on her plate. Her training schedule is actually listed in y'all's document, so I'd love for you to take a look at that. And then myself, there's lots on my plate too. So something I didn't tell you, the numbers on the left, you see the 2s and the 3s, those all go back to our Ford next generation learning standards. So you've got your standard for teaching and learning, you've got your standard for redesigning high school, and your standard for business and community. More of Section 3, district staff added to that as well. So this is Dr. Weiskopf's section. You guys know we're utilizing AAIS as our consultant. They are doing a wonderful job. So you know what they've done. That first summer they came in and did some work with our 9th grade teachers, because that's the first group that was going to have the academy kids. They came in the second summer and then this past summer and did work with our 9th grade and 10th grade teams. So we started with just figuring out what academies look like, what wall-to-wall academies look like. We talked about scheduling. Now we've moved on for the 10th grade teachers. We've moved on to that interdisciplinary piece, because that's a big part of the small learning communities, is that interdisciplinary piece. When they're talking about something in their CTE or their elective class, they may be on that same subject in English or math, whatever their other cohorted scheduled classes are. So doing some really neat stuff with them. Lots of stuff for you to read. Section 5 is just the shifts in thinking. Basically, scheduling is number 1. If we want wall-to-wall academies to work, we've got to have the right scheduling. We've done an amazing job at making that happen correctly this year, and I think everybody's well pleased. Also, we need to shift our thinking from did I teach that as a standard and checking that box to are they learning? Are they learning what they need to learn? And then the third thing is the capstone experience that all seniors will have. So, you know, one of the main reasons we went to wall-to-wall academies is because we saw in our district, just like research shows nationwide, that academies are good for kids. So every kid should have that opportunity. Every kid should have that opportunity to have that small learning community, to do those tours, to do those internships, to do those job shadowing, to see if that's really what they want to do. So that's why we're doing it. That's why we have this strategic plan in place. And I have a lot of work to do over the next couple of years, but with folks' help, we'll make it through. So, any questions? Y'all should have timed me. I think that was like a record. That was pretty good. Any questions?
I do have one question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Back up in the Section 1 where you highlighted about the Clay County Chamber Job Fair.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you already have the businesses? I mean, you mentioned that there was going to be some businesses participating. Do you already have those businesses lined up, or is there still opportunity to bring more businesses in?
So we have lots of those businesses. If you guys have some specific businesses that you think might be beneficial, please email them to me.
Okay.
We're not totally full yet.
Well, great.
And really, a lot of our businesses like VATCon, Clay Utilities, a lot of those folks who have reached out to say, hey, we need some help with getting students graduated and ready for employment, we have invited all those folks. But yes, if you have somebody, please send me that email.
Okay.
We'll make
I
some
will.
contacts.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Would you just hit on a little bit, as you guys wrote this strategic plan, which is great, thank you very much. You kind of took our old strategic plan and the Forward Pass and kind of merged them. Would you just touch on that a little bit?
I sure can. So the Ford Master Plan, which most of you probably remember, this is actually the 5th year of that 5-year plan. As that plan was created several years ago, we were moving two wall-to-wall academies, not quite as quickly as we did. So, with the old master plan kind of retiring anyway, what we did, instead of coming together and creating a whole new master plan, the 5-year master plan, we thought it would be simpler and more concise to come up with that 3-year strategic plan that really gets boots on the ground. I mean, this is the work. This is the meat and potatoes. Essentially, from that 5-year plan, we already knew who the players were. We're already working with the players and that kind of thing. So what we did is we took that 5-year master plan and almost retired it, but pulled all the parts that we needed to move forward and put it into this 3-year plan. So, and we're still doing some work with Ford. They've gone into a couple of different directions that they were in actually, but we are still doing some work with them. They've got communities all over the nation still, and we're one of the model track communities still. So, still talk with them lots. So, all right, y'all are quiet tonight.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Roll Tide, Miss Stutter.
Oh, boy.
There you
That's
go.
the
It's on
best
the
Christmas
record.
present I've ever had from you.
Okay, we are moving into scheduled citizens requests. The first scheduled citizens request we have is Teresa Dixon.
Good evening. I'm Teresa Dixon. I'm the CESPA president, and I know you have my address on file. Didn't know if I needed to say that for now, but there it is. Recently, there's been a lot of talk regarding a playbook given to the local unions by our state organization. It's been implied that this playbook gives us instructions to be as uncooperative as possible, and that our unwillingness to work with the district has resulted in the penalty of not having a ratified contract. Frankly, I don't consider 15 months of work at the bargaining table to be uncooperative. I don't think it was uncooperative for us to wait for the district's new team to be installed and brought up to speed. These did not bring about a penalty of no ratification. The real penalty would have been to accept what amounted to a $3 a month increase for a 2-year agreement, especially after the district used its 4th calculation, the largest in the state, to add additional administrative positions rather than even considering support staff. This is why we threw the flag and declared impasse. First, I want to say that the only playbook I know of is used by a team on the gridiron, but I'll play along and use the football analogy. I want you to understand the bargaining process from the perspective of the underdog. While both teams have the same playbooks available to use, we knew we would have to work hard to get the information. Public records requests that last year took days to complete now take weeks or more. And what we used to receive as readily and easily understood information has now become 3,700 lines of data that must be reformatted and put in a usable form before we can even use it. On top of that, there have been several attempts at charging outrageous rates in violation of Florida statutes for these records. But apparently, we're the ones being uncooperative. As the underdog, we knew we had to work harder than everyone else, so we huddled together and created our own playbook. We studied our adversary and planned our plays to go for the extra point and avoid a sack. For instance, when I requested the 10-minute slot, I had every intention of packaging my reveal within a PowerPoint, but since school board policy requires all materials presented to accompany the request 2 weeks in advance, I was told I would not be able to use these tools. It was an interception I hadn't anticipated, because I know I, as well as others, have been granted extensions before. This only demonstrates that in any game, the officials' calls can and do change, so you have to be prepared to adjust your pads and get back on the field no matter what. Now, most playbooks are secret, but in this case, our playbook is common knowledge to the district. The first and most important aspect of our playbook is our contract. But since bargaining is a give-and-take process, we knew it was also important to know the opponent, so we focused on the playbook of our opposition. We studied your lineup to see what strengths and weaknesses you had, and of course, we always looked for a rookie. To our delight, we didn't have to look far. Then we gathered our information and made our plans. The goal in mind is always to move the chains, rather than just sit at the line of scrimmage. To move the chains, we had to dig deep into school board policy, public records, and contracts of the other entities within the district. We also look at Florida statutes and DOE documents. Again, nothing that the district doesn't have access to, but every quarterback will put their own unique spin on the ball. We came upon the discrepancies of the admin's pay increases, and that information has resulted in many instant replays about Mr. Broski and others. So, did he get a $6,000 increase or a $6,000 increase or what when he was promoted? Well, the truth is, both are correct. It just depends on who's throwing the pass. If you look at data disclosed to the Florida DOE, you'll see that Mr. Broski's salary was reported as about $93,000. If you look closer at school board policy, you'll understand that what's reported is not the whole story and gives Mr. Broski, as well as other newly appointed district admins, good field position to make a big pay. You see, the state doesn't require the district to report supplementary salary, and this lack of disclosure misleads citizens. To explain, all school-based admins are given a supplement to their salary depending on the type of school, their position, and the number of students. Much like an NFL coach, they get paid depending on the team they coach. So, if you add the $10,000 plus in supplementary pay to Mr. Broski's base salary as a principal, you'll see the benefits of the blitz, and that he actually brought home about $104. It may even surprise you to hear me say that I don't have a problem with paying school-based admin supplementary pay. They work hard and long hours and are responsible to many, and they must answer to the district for every decision. In my opinion, they earn their pay. They are, in essence, the head coach of the school. What I do have a problem with is that the school board policy allows school-based admins who are promoted to the district to take that supplement with them. This is unlike any other position within the district. If I were an official, I'd throw a flag on this play. After all, they aren't taking the kids, just the money. It's a coin toss in its most literal form. Consider this. If a school-based admin is traded to a different school, they could lose money because their pay is based on very specific criteria within each location. They're paid depending on their current situation, not their past. Here's another scenario. If a teacher assistant who has a 2-year degree, if they have that 2-year degree, they're given $1 an hour supplement pay. But if they transfer and promote into an instructional assistant position, they no longer get the supplement. But they also don't get to bump their steps in order to make up for the loss of the supplement, as Mr. Broski and others did. It's troublesome to me, especially when we're in such a tight financial position. It appears to be a for-profit corporate mentality where the rich get richer and those working the AstroTurf are left with nothing but the memory of grass stains. Another problem found was the fact that numerous district admins did receive a pay increase. Again, the spin on the ball defines how you look at things. So it appears if we change a position just slightly, make them a member of the special teams, and label them a Director 1 when they used to be a Director 2, we can give them an increase without calling it a raise, because now they have a different job. Apparently, we can also rehire an employee whose job was deemed unnecessary by the board, keep them on the payroll and doing the same thing just by giving him a new title. Things have become so convoluted that the average citizen can't keep up and won't even try. I suppose that's the plan. The district does all it can to make us lose sight of the football before we can get to the goalpost. But the end zone, that's where the real action takes place. This is where you find teachers and staff doing more and more with less and less. This is what's going on in our schools. How you pay and treat those members who spend all of their time and energy in the end zone makes the difference in the outcome of the game. Increases to insurance, cut in hours, years of no increase to the base salary schedule, several missing steps, and those steps received coming late in the year with no retroactivity have all affected the team mentality. Is Clay on a winning or a losing streak? Well, that's for you to decide. But the data shows that Clay has lost some great teachers and support employees with years of experience in the end zone. Will this affect our student? Well, the better question is, how can it not? These losses are the worst kind of fumble of all because they can and do affect the students. The last thing I want to address is what I call jeers and cheers. Every good playoff has a following of both fans and foes. Their job is to make a lot of noise, and they've been doing just that. But jeers to those who refuse to consider the voices of the crowds, the voices and stories of my co-workers. Jeers to those who slap the hands of the ones who would speak out rather than working to improve relationships. Jeers to the occurrences of issues that have caused people to have to wait unnecessarily for their earned wages. These and other actions have brought about more grievances in the last 6 months than in the past 2 years combined. Rookies with their on-the-job training program are practicing without the benefit of fully understanding contract language and are being paid handsomely to do so. This unsportsmanlike conduct, illegal holds, and dangerous tackles must stop so we can get back to the business of educating children. But as I close this play-by-play, I want to end it with some cheers. I've worked for this district for more than 24 years, and I've worked with and around some of the very best educators and staff that this state has to offer. Dr. Joanne Roberts most impressed me with her ability to know the name of every member of her team from the first day of school. She taught me just how easy it is to make people feel important without costing a dime. Sharon Joka, the first teacher I ever worked with, taught me about loving the children. Terry Roth, Ruth Payne, they may not even remember I worked with them, but I remember them and their tenacity to impact and grow in their profession. Tony McCabe and I did not always agree when we sat across the bargaining table from one another, but she taught me respect and professionalism by example. There are so many others I could mention, but the point is, we have much in Clay to cheer about. We just need to look in the right place. So despite the bad snaps, I believe that Clay has greatness. I grew up here, raised my kids here, and am watching my grandchildren flourish here, all products of the Clay school system. We just need to huddle together and remember, the playbook is here for all of us to benefit from those on the field to those in the box seats. School board, this is your team. Teachers, custodians, secretaries, bus drivers, and monitors, maintenance and IT workers, healthcare workers, assistants, cafe workers, and many, many others. They all have a specialized position to play and are vital to the team. Treat them right, and they'll move the ball down the field for you. It's time to stop punting blindly and putting all of our trust in one or two players that could at any minute go out with an injury. Instead, throw that Hail Mary pass that will make us all winners. We're at the 2-minute warning. What we do next may decide the game.
Thank you, Ms. I do just want to make a comment. For as long as I have been on the board, school board policy regarding the presenters providing their presentation, if they have a presentation, whether it be a PowerPoint or something like that, has always been the same. It has not changed. And so I'm sorry you did not get to present that tonight. I would be happy if you would like to email it to me. I'd love to look at it. So I just wanted to note that. That policy has not changed. And as long as I've been on the board, I am not aware of any time that that has been not followed. Okay. Right. Okay, well, not while I've been on the board, so. Okay, thank you. Our next presenter citizen request is, but before we do, we have 2 cards. The scheduled citizen request is Ms. Mackey, but we have 2 3-minute cards to speak to that. So the first one is Brian Mackey. I'm sorry? The scheduled citizens request. Well, our policy says that anybody can put in a 3-minute card on any item on the agenda. So I'm going to allow it. Brian Mackey, you have 3 minutes if you'd like to come and speak to this scheduled citizens request. No, it's actually Miss Mackey. Excuse me, sir. Wait. You're Brian, right? Are you going to be speaking to the 10-minute? Okay. All right.
Now?
Go ahead.
Oh.
Please start off by stating your name and address for the record.
My name's Brian Mackey. I live in Lake Ridge North. Unit 106. I'm here today still speaking on an issue that we have that hasn't been resolved in our eyes. Now, we was here on the 15th of October to talk about an issue that happened with my son when he got suspended from the football team. And it was told to us that an investigation was done. But what I'm trying to find out, if an investigation is done, why was I not spoken to? Why was my son not addressed? Because the issue evolved around him. So I'm more than certain he should have been given an opportunity to speak and to answer the accusations that was brought against him. Now I read this report right here that was given by Mr. Wingate. It was approved by Mr. Van Zant, and it was also signed by Mr. Pittman. And it's stating in here in the bottom right here where it says that they came and they had investigations with Coach Hall. They got a statement from Coach Springs, and then they also talked to the kid who actually initiated the altercation. But yet no one yet till this day has even spoken to my son. You sit here and you tell me that you care about kids. Tell my son how much you care about him. Because no one has talked to him yet about what happened. No one knows what's going on in his life. No one even cared to say, hey, Brandon, what happened? Why did you feel that way? Mr. Pittman has known my son for 3 years. He knows that's not my son. But no one decided to take the time out, all the people who say they care so much about kids, and actually find out what was going on. Grandmother just had a heart attack, going through a lot of things in his life right now. And then when someone comes up to him and tell him to get out of his own personal seat, and he didn't say get up, he was derogatory also. And then he's the only one that get punished for it? That is absurd. I can't see how y'all can see that as a fair treatment. You can't tell me it's fair. He was doing nothing. He was the first one in the room sitting there waiting, sitting in his own chair. This kid received nothing. But my son, 11th grade, he's a junior. A junior. He's missed his whole season because no one in the room decided to be an adult, to be a true mentor, and really go back and ask this kid, hey, Brandon, what's going on with you? Why did we have this kind of outburst? No one. So you can't sit here and tell me that you care about kids if you're not going to go about the whole process and investigate the whole thing and find out what's really going on. I'm still really upset about this.
Thank you. Brandon Mackey. Brandon Mackey. Brandon, if you could start off by stating your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Brandon Mackey, and I live in Lake Ridge North, Unit 106. And I'm here to discuss about, the way I felt about the whole situation. And I felt disrespected and undervalued as a person in the aspect that the whole situation was about me. And for them to go and interview the people that were just background players and not interview me, or at least ask me anything about it, was just flat out rude, and just shows that in this small community, people don't seek for justice. They just protect the people they've known for a while, even though they know what their friend is doing is wrong and immoral. And honestly, it's pretty disappointing that illiterate and slimy coaches would even be allowed to coach adolescents at this level. Because honestly, that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so at this time, the scheduled citizens request is for Ms. Mackey.
Who's Mr. Brunswick? Is he here today, Broski? You're him? Okay, I just wanted to see your face. I don't know when I'm ready.
Ms. Mackey, if you could please start off by saying your name and address for the record.
My name is Brandy Mackey, Lake Ridge North, Unit 106. I do see the sign behind you, which it says, "In God We Trust," and that's why I'm here again today. Because in Proverbs 18, it says that in a lawsuit, the first one to speak seems right until one is cross-examined. And I'm here to cross-examine. You sent me a letter, sir, on the 20th of October, 5 days after the meeting, with 3 papers saying that you considered this matter closed. How could you consider that matter closed when you didn't speak to me, you didn't speak to my son, you didn't speak to anyone?
Excuse me, Ms. Mackey, but you don't get to ask.
Okay,
direct
well, I'm
questions to the
speaking.
board.
I'm speaking. And
That's fine.
but see, this is where it goes again. Where you want to say someone's disrespectful and belligerent, what you see is passion and anger. So I'm talking in general. I'm not speaking to him face to face, because in this whole arena of things, no one has chosen to speak to us face to face and call. I spoke to this gentleman yesterday, which he called, or the day before yesterday, to call me to say Hall was no longer going to be coaching. Okay, well, good for him. But they didn't investigate on our part why he wasn't coaching. And then when I tried to share my story with him, he thinks it's laughable. Is that the kind of behavior that you guys are exhibiting? Defiant, respectful? This is the kind of things that you all are supposed to be a village. This is the kind of village I'm supposed to raise my children in. This is who you all represent. It's disgusting. And so you sit up here and you talk to me like I'm a child. I am a grown woman, so there is no way I could possibly be disrespectful to you when I'm coming in front of you to address my concerns. And the fact that you did that to me the last meeting was pretty rude too. When I was here on the last meeting and I watched them basically sit up here and sing the praises of Coach Hall and clap and jump up for joy and cry, and I see no one to say anything. I am a military veteran as well, and I've served my country as well, and there is a chain of command, which is what I tried to do. When I went to Hall, I went to Pittman, I went to the athletic director, I went to Wingate, I went to you all, I went to your attorney, and per his advice, you all decided you all didn't want to meet with us, so we had to bring it to the public. And I'm bringing it to the public because you all don't have a supervisor, so the public needs to know the kind of behavior you all are exhibiting. My son did nothing wrong. That's like I'm coming in, I'm sitting in your seat. It's your seat. But you tell me to get up and I cuss you out because I don't want to get up. And I get kicked out? Where does that you know where it happens? It happens right here in Fleming Island at Fleming Island High School. And I have something that you all should hear about Coach Hall's character. I had nothing but great admiration for this man. He has looked out for my family. We didn't do anything wrong. We were blameless in all of this. All of it. No one once took the time, even after this, October the 20th, to call and check on my child. He missed his whole junior year. I have parents telling me that Tom, I guess they're on friend basis, is telling them that Brandon's grades wasn't good enough. My son is courageous. He's still maintaining his grades. He still went out for the wrestling team because we are going to be bullied. If you don't want us here in this district, then pay for us to move, okay? Because that is obviously the point that everybody that said that they consent to what Hall did, I agree with his decision. I agree with his decision. I agree with his decision. Then you are just as fault for how he treated me and my family. When I come to him and I ask him, what did my son do wrong? He tells me, you know what, I don't care, he'll never play here again. Matter of fact, let's just do this here.
Ma'am, hang on a second. Stop. If you play that tape recording and you can't establish for the record that you have the permission of that person, you're committing a third-degree felony.
You know what? It's worth me going to jail because you know what? My son is that important. I have all.
Miss Mackey, stop right now.
Okay. Well, let me tell you something right now. Okay. No matter what happens, Pittman knew about it. Wingate knew about it. They all knew about it, and that's all you all have done. You didn't want to meet with me in private to discuss this because of some laws. You wanted to wait to embarrass my family and my son. So don't act like you don't want to hear it now when we've been dealing with this since the last season. And I am a person of the community, and I thought about these other children, so I let the dust settle. No one took the time. They knew about it. The union, you want to spend your money to fight for him to get his job back, then you should know the whole entire story. You should know that he told my son that he could go to Trinity with the other 3 boys, and I knew exactly who they are. Well, guess what? The other 3 boys, exactly who they are look a lot like me. They don't look nothing like you. Okay? This is a good old boy and obviously a good old girl club because nothing has been done or said to even care about us. And if it's not because, I'm a business owner here. I support the team. I put an ad in. We've done all this. So tell me why. Only thing I can see is because I look different than you. And it's sad. It's disgustingly sad. You know what? This had to happen for a reason, just like I said on the news the other day. It needed to happen for a reason when things like this happen because it needs to be brought to people's attention that this is not going to happen again. You know what? I got a lot to lose by coming up here when I got a business right across the street and I got coaches telling kids not to come and eat with me and parents. But I trust in God. And if you want to really investigate now, then call me. Come and see me. Ask me about it. Because this is not going to happen anymore. My son, guess what? He wants to stay in Fleming because he's been going to school since he was a 4th grader. If you want to have people in here, this is who you want to represent your camp. People like Hall that knows about this kind of stuff and he just sweeps it under the rug. People like this man right here that when I tell him about stuff, he laughs in my face. Wingate, he tells me to tell my son to go apologize to the coaches. And then you wonder why a person gets upset. This is not disrespect. This is passion. Yeah, this is anger because it should not have been here. It should not have went this far. You got people talking about football and stuff. We all have rallied behind this team. And you should all be ashamed of yourself. Just like the lady said last week about Bubba. Everybody want to be Bubba. Let Bubba come back. All of you all should be ashamed of yourself because not one, not even you, Miss Janice, you're my representative, called to check on my child to see what the outcome is. He's not worth being treated fairly? Why? Because he don't look like you? Because we don't have money like you? And then it's okay? And you know what? I am encouraging him to speak up for himself because he didn't. You talk about character. We just opened a brand new restaurant. He goes to school. He gets good grades. He went to football practice, and he still comes to work at our restaurant. So you want to talk about character building? You want to talk about being innovative, engaging, empowering? Who are you guys innovating and empowering right now and engaging but yourselves? Stop it. Because any time that we've tried to bring this to attention, you find a slimy way to not address it. So now you have no choice. If you don't want to investigate it, then take it to the next level. Take it to the commissioner. The last thing I will say is Proverbs 18 also says, is a human spirit can endure sickness, but a crushed spirit, who can bear it? You will not crush my child's spirit any longer.
Okay, this is the last call for speaker cards for anybody who would like to speak to anything else on the agenda. Okay, superintendent update.
I would love to update you, Madam Chairman. We've got a lot of cool stuff going on this week. First person I'd like to come up and talk to us is Dr. Emily Weiskopf.
Good evening. I was thinking, please don't let me be next.
Well, at least you have a nice quiet room.
And we are here to share some really great things that are going on in Clay County. So I'm Emily Weiskopf. I'm the Director of Professional Development, School Improvement, and Assessment. And I brought with me Jenny Shepard, one of my instructional specialists in our department. And so tonight, we just wanted to give you the opportunity to hear about a system of support for new teachers in our county. And so we've created a new system called the BEST Teacher Induction Program, and it's supported by the Beginning Educator Support Team. And so we just kind of wanted to give you an introduction to that and let you know about it and kind of see where we're at halfway through our first year of implementation. So our department started looking into a few years ago sort of the trends in hiring in Clay County. And we looked over the last 10 years, and we basically hire about 200 new hires each year. And approximately half of those tend to be brand new teachers. So to date, with this new system of support, we're serving 76 first-year teachers in 30 different schools throughout the support system. And we know that many schools had provided some support site-based, but what we weren't seeing is that we didn't have a system at the district level to make sure everybody had some kind of support as a new teacher. And we also knew that with new standards, a new expectation for teaching, 21st century learning skills, that entering our field is even more challenging than ever before. And so we felt like it was time to sort of relook at some things and see how we could base some support. So the BEST mission says this, that meaningful partnerships with beginning teachers resulting in collaborative classrooms where all students achieve is basically the statement that drives all of the work of those involved. It's a three-tiered support system, so it lasts for 3 years, and we have many people who support this particular initiative. And those would be, so Jenny facilitates all the work, and we also have 12 instructional coaches, all of which I will say are some of the best educators in Clay County. And several of them are here tonight, and if you don't mind, I'd like to recognize them at this time. So would the best coaches please stand up? With a brand new initiative and brand new job expectations, you can understand why their learning curve is pretty much straight up. So certainly they come in every day and do a wonderful job supporting our work. Basically, the coaches support two types of educators. The first are those who have a formal educator program, and they've gone through a 4-year degree in education. But we also serve those who are called TIP Plus, and they're alternatively certified teachers who basically have a 4-year degree in another content area, and they take a state test, and they have no formal education training, and we do support both. We began working with Human Resources last spring to think about how we could make sure that every new teacher hired receives a best coach. This form in front of you that you see is a form that we do during pre-employment, and we have this laid out for the new teachers so that they know what the 3-year support system looks like for them. And I will tell you that most of them are very excited when they see it. So we've been to several pre-employment meetings ourselves, right, Jenny? And get to meet them firsthand. In front of you, we've given you a brochure that talks about the different opportunities for support, and I'd just like to share a few of those with you tonight. So at the beginning of the school year, each teacher receives new teacher training that we affectionately call New Teacher Boot Camp. Each new teacher also has an opportunity to visit classrooms of master teachers to see them in action with the students. They do this twice a year, once in the fall and once in the spring. We also created some online learning modules that provide the basics, kind of the Clay way, and they consist of things like how to plan for standards-based learning, supporting students with ESE and 504 accommodations, and working in professional learning communities. And the core of the support for new teachers is provided through coaching cycles, where the coaches work with the teachers in the classrooms directly. The BEST program is designed to use a gradual release module, and so they receive the most support in year 1 with a release of support in year 2 and year 3. So in year 2, the teachers start the year off with training on collaborative classroom principles as well as formative assessment training. And they also have the opportunity to do some master teacher observations. They have one opportunity to do that, and they engage in at least 2 coaching cycles for that year. Year 3 looks similar, with the training being on differentiated instruction, and they also will do 1 observation of master teachers and also engage in 2 coaching cycles at least for the year. So as you know, feedback throughout our work is fundamental to ensuring alignment between systems and the support. So to ensure that first-year teachers were receiving the supports needed, we conducted a mid-year survey a few weeks ago. And so I would like for Jenny to take you through those survey results now.
Good evening. So the survey was sent to 75 teachers, and 51 of them responded. And of those 51 teachers, 23 were the TIP teachers, and those are the teachers that did not go through a formal educator preparation program. 26 were teachers who did go through a program, for a formal educator preparation program, and 2 teachers did not indicate their TIP status. As Emily said, we offered New Teacher Boot Camp, and we offered it in August and again in September to accommodate all the teachers that were hired after the start of school. And the new teacher training addressed these 3 major areas: classroom management, specifically implementing classroom procedures, and using the Safe and Civil Schools CHAMP strategy for communicating expectations to students, strategies for making student thinking visible, and the district's instructional framework. And based on the survey, the teachers felt that the New Teacher Boot Camp provided useful tools that can be used in the classroom. Additionally, the results showed that those teachers who did not complete an educator preparation program found the New Teacher Boot Camp to be even more useful than those who had completed one. And this is likely because some of the content provided in the training may have been a review for those who did go through an education preparation program. So here you can see the % of teachers who indicated that they're actually using the tools from the New Teacher Boot Camp. And as you can see, over half of them are implementing all 4 of the tools, with the greatest implementation seen in procedures, and we are pretty excited to see that 96% of these first-year teachers are implementing the instructional framework in their classroom. And on the survey, teachers had the opportunity to write in comments about each element of support provided, and here's a comment from the survey about the New Teacher Boot Camp. And the handbook that they're referring to in this comment is the blue spiral-bound handbook that we handed you at the beginning. The master teacher observations are scheduled based on the instructional strategies the teachers would like to learn more about in those areas that we focused on in the boot camp. And when scheduling these visits, often the principal is contacted to recommend master teachers whose classrooms demonstrate high-quality teaching and learning. And our department provides the release time for these new teachers to be able to spend an entire day visiting classrooms and then debriefing and planning with their coach around what they observed. Almost all of the new teachers have had an opportunity to participate in their first master teacher visit this year, and based on the survey results, the teachers feel that these observations have made a positive impact on their classroom teaching. And when asked specifically about the time spent debriefing, reflecting, and planning with their coach during this day of observations, the teachers agreed that this time was valuable, and in fact, this debrief time was rated more highly than the classroom visit itself. And here's a comment that a teacher provided in response to the survey about the master teacher observations. And because there's always so much for first-year teachers to learn about a wide variety of topics, the online learning modules were developed to provide information on the online management systems that we use here in Clay, how to plan and deliver standards-based instruction, how to support the students with ESE and 504 accommodations, as well as the basics of working in a professional learning community. And we wanted to ensure that the teachers have access to the information they need without adding additional unnecessary tasks to their workload. And while not all of the teachers who responded to the survey had completed the online learning modules, the teachers who had completed them did feel that they were useful and manageable. And one teacher commented that the online learning modules helped with the technical information that first-year teachers need to know. And the heart of this program revolves around those meaningful partnerships between the coach and the teacher. So it was important for us to know how the new teachers felt about this one-on-one support from their coach. And overall, most teachers feel that they meet with their best coach just enough. And then we also found that most of the teachers communicate with their coach on a weekly basis. Overall, the survey responses indicate that the teachers feel respected by their coach as a professional. They believe their coach respects their time. The teachers look forward to their coaching visits, and the conversations that the teachers have with their coaches address their classroom concerns and help them become better teachers. And one thing you can notice is that this graph seems to indicate that those teachers, those tip teachers who did not go through an educator preparation program, they seem to value their coach's support even more than those that did go through a program. And the new teachers and coaches, they engage in targeted conversations about the teaching and learning that takes place in their classrooms through coaching cycles. Because each new teacher comes to the classroom with various strengths to teach students with a variety of needs, the instructional focus of the coaching cycles are determined by the teacher, allowing the coaches to support the teachers in the areas that the teachers find most important to implement. So part of this survey addressed those topics that teachers and coaches have worked on together during those coaching cycles. And the question asked specifically about those main focus areas of the BEST program. And overall, almost every teacher has worked on one of these areas with their BEST coach. And keep in mind that a teacher may be implementing one or more of these areas in their classroom without having worked on it specifically with their coach. And as you can see, the two areas that the coaches and teachers have worked most closely on are those strategies for making student thinking visible and the framework, the instructional areas. And here's a comment that speaks to the value of the job-embedded coaching support. So through the results of this survey, we found that the average scores for all areas of support were between agree and strongly agree. And this shows that the new teachers here in Clay appreciate the support of the BEST program. And overall, the teachers believe that the supports provided through this program have helped them to improve their teaching, which should in turn lead to high levels of student achievement. And while the survey results did validate the support we're providing to new teachers, it also revealed an opportunity for growth to consider in the future. Because we serve two types of first-year teachers, we've realized through the survey that they have different needs when it comes to new teacher training. So an opportunity to consider is to offer differentiated opportunities for professional learning at the two-day new teacher boot camp targeted specifically to the needs of each type of teacher.
So I once again just have to thank Jenny, because Jenny does a fantastic job with this. So she's a teacher leader, she's an instructional person, And she is one of those amazing people that she leads by example, and I know that we also did, I will say this, and we're happy to share those results too. We also had the coaches survey on Jenny to see how her support was, and so last Friday they all sat down and looked at all the survey results, and she shared hers and they shared theirs. So it's a very transparent way of working. It's very open. Everything is pretty public. We're sharing things on Google, and so it just is a great place for learning. And so we're excited about it. We kind of wanted to check in halfway to see, do we need to make any big changes, you know. Of course, we would like to retain teachers here in Clay, and we want them to feel supported and feel like they have a support system here. And so we found some great results. And so while we know it's about meaningful partnerships with beginning teachers, the end result is kids. So we thought we would share with you a few of the voices of students from these teachers, these brand new teachers. And so over 3 months, here's the impact they've made on students already.
I like best about my teacher that she's very fun and she likes to do things with us, and she likes us to work with our peers, and she wants us to work together and expand ourselves.
About my teacher, Mr. Scamahan, is that he's strict but not too strict, and he sticks to his rules.
Yeah, my teacher helps me learn when he does examples.
Very kind and sometimes silly, and more importantly, he's very positive.
My teacher helps us learn what not to do and what to do. She also helps us enhance our knowledge by asking us to go back in the text and find our answers. The best thing I like about Mrs. Joyful, she's so inspiring.
So we appreciate you giving us a few minutes, and we'd be happy to answer any questions if you had any about this particular new initiative.
Sounds great. I think it's good, yeah.
I've just got a comment or two. I was able to attend a couple of the new teacher trainings that Dr. Weiskopf and her stellar group of coaches put on in August, the week before school started, the week the employees came back. Just some super people entering our system, and the age gamut. We had some people right out of college, but we had a lot of people coming into education eyes wide open, midlife, second career, wanting to do this. So that's always exciting when you got people that they could have chosen to do a lot of things. They've been around the block a few times, and they want to come be here, and they want to work on our kids. And I can just tell you, from the first year teaching experience I had in Clay County, and I won't mention any names, the gentleman that hired me is retired now, but I got a big key ring. It was almost on level with the custodian, and I got shown where my room was, and I got told there'd be a couple of look-ins, and that was kind of it, you know. But we didn't really talk about standards. We didn't talk about test spec items. We didn't talk about assessments or how any of that lines up with the book I got to teach out of, or any of those kind of things. I mean, not only are we doing such a better job these days educating our kids, but getting our teachers up and running where they're confident and know how to do it. Huge. So I can't thank you guys enough for what you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, anything else, Superintendent?
Yes, ma'am. I've got two other things, and I'll try not to take too long, but they're important. I'd like Ms. Condon, if she would, to just characterize our relationship with Transform North Florida for a minute, and then share something really cool with you guys.
In June of 2015, I was asked by Bev Slough in St. Johns County to be part of a volunteer group that's called, it started as Transform Jacksonville, now it's Transform Northeast Florida. It encompasses 7 counties, and they try to get a representative from each county, and then it's grown from being just the Transform to now it has different sectors. And so I was asked to be a volunteer on the education sector, and the education sector does 3 things for the schools of Northeast Florida. And those 3 things are to pray specifically for requests that we've heard from the schools or from the teachers or from parents or from students themselves on things that they want us to get together and discuss and pray for. And then once a year, that group organizes prayer walks in the schools of all the 7 counties on a Sunday afternoon right before school starts. And as you know, the different counties start at different times, and so some of those occurred on different days, but they try to get it once a year. And then in the past, they had done the same kind of prayer walk things before testing. Well, now testing, as y'all painfully know, takes up most of the year, and so that didn't become realistic. And so what that group wanted to do was to start educating the public on what faith-based partnerships should look like in schools and what they're not, and that they aren't opportunities for people to go in and teach kids about religion at all. They're opportunities to volunteer and be hands and feet for the needs of the schools. Just like most people would consider any kind of faith-based organization to do. That's the work of the church. And so when I joined that group in June, and then in about September, they had not had any conversations in Clay County at all. And so the group approached Superintendent Van Zandt and asked if they could initiate some kind of organization with the principals to find out what the needs of the schools are, and communicate with the pastors, the local pastors who already were doing so much in our schools, had people out in our schools, but we knew that those things weren't being documented. And so they organized a breakfast. One of the local churches put on a breakfast and invited all the local churches that were listed in the Clay Today and all of the principals of our schools, and anyone who had any relationships already were also invited. You know, people were told to go ahead and invite those. And so out of that day, I think there were a lot of relationships that were born, and that there is a lot of work being done. I know that there was, things like boxes of paper are being delivered. I think Fleming Island High School got some boxes of paper from one of their faith-based partners, and because that's what the teacher said they needed, and those kinds of things. But another person who came to that breakfast, and I don't know how he was invited, but he was an individual from a company that is called Bethesda Foundation. And one of the companies that they have is a farm, an organic farm out in Union County that grows organic produce, and I think they're starting to produce organic eggs for Whole Foods. And so they have this farm in Union County, and they want to teach the children of Clay County about farming and about all the things that go with it, taking care of a farm. And so they've offered to the school district opportunities for field trips and things like that. But in addition to that, yesterday, the gentleman, and I am really bad with names, so his name is Sean, and I apologize, Sean, that if you're watching, that I forgot your last name. But he approached the superintendent, and the third thing that Transform Northeast Florida group does is they host a luncheon every year around Christmas time for the 7 superintendents in the area. So that luncheon was yesterday, and so this guy shows up at the luncheon and says to superintendent that he would like to give our school district, through the Education Foundation, the Clay County Education Foundation, $50,000 for this time of year for our neediest families. And so the superintendent contacted all the principals and is getting feedback from them on who our neediest families are. I heard one story of a family, I'm not even sure where, but that of a home that burned down. So just like within this week, the home burned. So anyway, that kind of thing is going on. So through the superintendent and Kathy Schofield with the Clay County Education Foundation, they're going to get those things distributed. Some people are offering to come in Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week. So we're just really excited about that partnership. And then they wanted a more extended partnership with Clay County. So what that will end up looking like, I don't know. And it really, the Transform Northeast Florida group was really just the carrier, and we didn't do anything but have a breakfast and hope that good things came out of it, and certainly this is a great thing. So,
Wow, that's exciting.
Thank you. I wanted Ms. Condon to kind of frame that because literally his name's Sean Helene. He's kind of a shy guy. He didn't want to come tonight. I'm trying to get him to come and explain a little bit more about his vision, and so hopefully we'll be able to do that in the next month or two. But you've heard us talk about our strategic plan to move Clay County into the top 10 school districts within the state. And you've heard, and I'll just remind you, the four major areas that we've prioritized and are focusing on are our academies. You've heard a little bit about that tonight. Our collaborative classroom efforts, which the BEST program that Dr. Weiskopf and Ms. Shepard just briefed us on certainly supports that. STEM education, you've heard a lot about that. We've updated you, and you know that every elementary school now has an after-school STEM enrichment program, and a lot of those are funded through partnerships with the Department of Defense and other grants we've written. And the fourth leg of that stool is our community engagement, our business partners, our faith-based partners, other partnerships that we go out and establish. So I just say that to be encouragement in a couple of ways. The things that we're focusing on and prioritizing our time and effort on are bearing fruit. The gentleman that made the very generous donation yesterday to the Education Foundation to meet needs for our needy families this holiday season was huge. That was kind of like to just meet immediate needs, but to support a longer-term vision. So that's one more partnership we have. Ms. Stewart was talking about our business community coming around our academies, and we'll take all those business partnerships we can get. So I just was elated yesterday. Normally, not always the second or third time do I meet somebody, they hand me a large sum of money to do something great for our kids. So very enthused about that. Just wanted to share that with you. The last thing I'd like to share with you is on a little more serious note. Last week, if you have the One Clay app or looked at our Facebook page, you saw a press conference that I gave in this room with representatives from the local law enforcement agencies standing with me, the Sheriff's Office, the Orange Park and Green Cove police chiefs. And really the message I wanted to get across to our parents, if any are watching, and to our students, if any of those are watching, is to help check up on your student and what they're doing online with social media, with their texting and emailing and all the electronic kind of digital world that we live in. And let's make sure that we're using that wisely. It's kind of like a scalpel in the hands of a surgeon. It can do a whole lot of good, and the hands of somebody else, it can just poke you till you bleed, and that's not good. So unfortunately tonight, earlier this evening, when the school board conducted its disciplinary hearings, a high schooler that had made a threat against a school on social media was expelled. So that student will never be able to set foot on his home campus again. Won't get to graduate from high school like a normal kid. He's expelled. Hate to do that. That's a serious consequence, but we have to take a threat to our school very seriously, which we have. A warrant was issued for another high school student here in Clay County today that made a similar threat using his phone, and we just can't have that. So check your kids, whatever relationship that you're in with them, teacher, student, parent, student to student, and please, we would like to have 0 more of these. Nobody has a good time telling a family they can't come and bring their kid to one of our schools anymore. That's not what we want, but we will keep our students and our campuses safe, and we just can't tolerate any other type of behavior like that. So that's my update for tonight. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Van Zandt. Next item up is item D2. Consider moving the February 18th, 2016 and the March 17th, 2016 school board meetings. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
I have a motion for approval by Ms. Condon and a second by Ms. Gilhousen. Any discussion?
You might want to state for those
Yeah.
watching on TV the
Yeah.
reasons why.
So I can just go ahead and read it, or Mr. Van Zandt, if you'd like to speak to it.
I'll just quickly summarize. In February, the Ford Foundation, which we're one of those 20 districts nationwide that's been designated as a Ford Next Generation Learning Community, is having a conference. Pinellas County Schools is hosting it. They've asked me to go facilitate one of their breakout sessions, and it happens to be on that day, but like I just previously stated, that's one of the very top priorities in our school district, and others are very interested, and I'm interested in seeing what other businesses in other counties are doing, so I'd appreciate your support on that, and I'm proposing to move it to the next Tuesday, which would be February 23rd here in this room, and this room is available. The March meeting, which would normally be on the third Thursday, March 17th, falls right in the middle of our spring break week, and so I'm proposing to move that meeting to Tuesday, March 22nd, the following Tuesday here in this room.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, the next item up is item C7, which was pulled from the consent agenda. This is an item that I pulled, but before I speak to this, I would like to, we have a yellow card here. Ms. Tracy Butler, a green, excuse me, yes, a yellow card, 3-minute card.
I have some documents. Where did our gentleman go? Can I bring them up?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I need to point out to you that the first page I gave you is page 71 out of the master contract for CESPA. If you'll look halfway down the technology specialists, you'll see programmer analyst is on there. Programmer analyst is one of the positions in our bargaining unit. Also want to have you turn to the next page. Job description for programmer analyst. This is the one that comes right off your school board site, and also is the one that we worked together years ago to perfect. And then I want you to take a look at the job description for the programmer analyst contract that you're looking at tonight. They're identical. So I wanted to let you know that if the board signs this tonight, they will be committing an unfair labor practice. The programmer analyst position is one of our bargaining unit positions, and Labor Relations 101, you can't give our bargaining unit positions to other people. You can't sub those out. You can't contract them out. They're covered under our bargaining unit, which means you have to hire the people, and they have to be underneath our contract and be paid by our contracted wages. So if that happens, then we will have to file that ULP.
Thank you, Ms. Butler. Okay. So item C7 is agreement between School Board of Clay County and DES of Florida, LLC. I had pulled this to discussion, but before we can talk about it, I have to bring it to the floor. So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval to discuss.
Sure.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion for approval from Ms. Condon and a second by Ms. Gilhousen. Okay, my question was, obviously, Mr. Hendrick, would it be appropriate if I asked Mr. Hendrick, could you speak to Ms. Butler's comments? That was something that I was not aware of. Well, first of all, my question was if you could just kind of speak to the scope of the work and how this is going to support the terms transition.
Yes.
My understanding, that's what it is.
So earlier this evening, as part of the consent agenda, the board approved the awarding of a bid for a much-needed new Enterprise Resource Planning, or ERP system.
Right.
However, before we go live with that system, before it's in place, we will still have to conduct our day-to-day business using our existing system known as TERMS, T-E-R-M-S. Item 7 is C7 is a contract with DES to supply much-needed programming support for TERMS. This is a very old system, and as such requires a very special and very rare skill set. DES has access to those personnel resources as we need them. So it's on an as-needed basis.
Okay.
It's not a full-time position. And there are no current allocations. Nobody in IT has the job description of program analyst. That is an old job description. We are phasing it out. However, this is also an old system that we are phasing out, so we do need temporary support as we do that. As stated in the rationale, one critical area that needs ongoing special support is payroll. In addition to payroll and other core business processes, we will also begin the ETL process as we convert to the new system. Again, DES has access to local, and I do stress that, local, because if we contract with someone else for these services, they're going to have to travel to Clay at a much higher expense to us. In addition, by being local, we can get those resources within a 24-hour period if an emergency or critical issue pops up, again, as needed. Not just local resources, but they also have access to personnel resources that have Clay-specific institutional knowledge of terms. I also would feel very obligated to let the board know the potential impact should this contract not be approved this evening. Please be aware that we would be without the support outlined in the contract or the agreement before you this evening, and that is as we approach the switchover of a calendar year and the beginning of a second semester. So in addition to that, the term system is really primarily used by the business affairs and human resources area, so I'm not sure if Dr. Legutko or Mr. Broski would like to add any additional comments.
Hello? Yes. Yes, I would like to echo that I support what Mr. Hendricks has said, because again, we are embarking on a huge project moving forward. And my concern, of course, is the conversion over to the new system and going through that timeline from now to even June, close to our end of year. Payroll, that is a huge, June is a huge processing time frame for a lot of teachers and support. And I am concerned about not having the resources available as it relates to the terms system.
The impact here, you say that it shall not exceed. Does that mean it shall not exceed the dollar amount specified here? Does that mean it could be less than that?
That is correct. Okay. It is pay as you go or pay as you use.
Okay. So. Okay. And you mentioned something about a previous contract, that there was a previous contract wasn't completely encumbered upon, and so there was money left over from that to go towards this?
That is.
Her microphone's not working good. Okay.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah. There you go. Okay. Okay. I have a question about the comment about the...
Yeah, Mr. Broski, we've obviously just heard that. Could you remind me what our contract says? There's a word. We have to inform, confer, something like that when we're doing something like this?
Yes, sir. On page 20 of the contract, letter J, it says CESPA representatives will be consulted when contracting employee classifications is considered by the school board when subcontracting of employee classifications. is considered by the school board or at the superintendent level.
Were they consulted? Were you consulted?
I think that it's well known that TERMS is an archaic system, and it's very, very well known that the individual that is being sought for this particular contract is probably one of only 10 people.
I would say one of 4.
One of 4 people in the state that have this type of skill to make payroll and those other vital parts of the school system actually run.
I understand that wasn't the question, though. The question was, did we follow the contract? Did we consult CCEA representatives like we're supposed to? CESPA, I'm sorry.
CESPA specifically about this contract? No.
Okay, and we are supposed to?
It says here the wording is consulted when subcontract employee classifications. There's some question as to whether that classification actually exists. The programmer analyst position is no longer in.
So we're playing with words.
Well,
that's what we're doing.
Let me share some additional information here. We would still have a programmer analyst on our support staff in IT. However, that gentleman chose to take retirement a year early.
You know, Ms. McKinnon.
So we would have an allocation. However, that person retired.
Yeah, I wasn't done, but I wanted to understand the part about the Ms. Butler's comments. So before I finish, I just want to know, are we getting ourselves into some trouble here, or is there?
This would be something you need to talk to the attorney about.
Okay. But you're saying that this particular job description, job classification does no longer exist. Is that correct?
That is correct. We have no one in that job role in IT, nor would we anticipate going forward ever using that job description again.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm clear. Ms. Karakis, you had something you wanted to add?
I did, and I did talk to Mr. Hendricks about this. When I saw you pulled it, I was actually glad you did, because I understand after talking to Ms. Legutko and Mr. Hendricks how important this position is, that we have it for payroll.
Yeah.
But what I have a problem with, and I have a really big problem with, it came to us 4 months ago, I think it was August or July, and it was a 4-month contract so that this gentleman could train the new person who's taken over. And 4 months should be more than enough time to train the person. Now we're coming back and saying, well, we're not done. We need him now till the end of June. What we were paying on the last contract was $70-something an hour. Now it's much more than that. It's $100 plus. And if it's less than 24 hours notice, it's $130-something an hour. So it has gone up. And I know the argument's going to be, but it's still less because we're not paying benefits. But my thought is, if we're deleting an allocation and we're distributing that work, that's what we should have done and have the total savings. And I'm sure that this gentleman, and I can't say 100%, but I don't think you enter drop and you leave the district the next day. So when he entered drop, we should have seen the writing on the wall and started preparing. And this bothers me that we have not. And I'm just concerned that if we approve this, June 30th is coming back to us again, because whoever is supposed to be trained in this hasn't learned everything they need to know, and this is the only person who can do it, and so this worries me.
Yeah, but Ms. Karakis, why would you train somebody new in a system that's going away? That's, I think, what Mr. Hendrick is saying. This system is going away. A brand new ERP system is coming on board, and this gentleman is going to be here to support the phasing out of the old.
I guess the question is, why is there only one person who knows how to do that?
I don't know. That's irrelevant at this point.
Right.
So there's lots of questions for me at this point. The first one I'd like to address is training over 4 months. You're talking about a system that's been in the district for 20 years, and 20 years of institutional knowledge of knowing all the processes and how they occur throughout the year. During those 4 months, again, that original contract was for part-time work. That person was not here 100% of the time sitting beside the new person for the transfer of knowledge. They were called in as needed, and as processes came up that we were unsure of, they were documented going forward. However, we all know that the first time you go through something during the year, the first anniversary, we will go through things in January for the first time without this person on board. We will go through, again, more items at the end of this school year that we have not gone through without this person on board. We will bring them in as needed to document, not just for ongoing business, but so important, I can't stress enough what Dr. Legutko said here. As we migrate all of that data, 20 years worth of data plus, out of our old system into our new system, we are actually privileged to still have access to this individual, and that they're willing to come in and still work part-time with us. Again, the institutional knowledge that is there is just amazing to be able to help us transfer into the new system.
Yeah, I just want to also reiterate, I have actually experienced an ERP transition before, and it is not an easy thing to do. It can be very painful, and it can have huge ramifications if you do not have the right support and it is not done correctly. The business that I'm at right now, we went through an ERP transition. It shut our business down for almost a month. We couldn't ship a product. So it is I understand the criticality of this person's knowledge and needing him. So I just wanted clarification about that and about the impact of it. So I'm good. Ms. Condon.
Mr. Hendrick, did I understand you to say that this employee retired a year early?
That is correct.
And is there any, I know you said if we contracted with other services to provide that there would be additional expense. Can terms themselves provide this kind of information? Or
actually,
service?
Terms, as far as I know, to this date does not exist any longer. The company was sold. That's what I learned recently. Terms does not even offer maintenance and support on our current version. We basically have been self-insured on Terms for the last couple of years. The other thing I would like to also address is the question regarding why this person wasn't kept on board for part-time for the entire year. Again, this person is retired. They chose to come in for 6 months at a time, could not commit to more than that. But going forward beyond the scope of this contract, which again is the reason why the increase in cost, because the scope went from just maintenance and support of a normal operating term system to not just that, but to assist in the conversion process. So the scope has also increased. Plus, in addition, we all remember some critical things that occurred, and we needed immediate support. Therefore, that less than 24 hours, if we happen to call DES and say we need this person, and they're on vacation or mowing the lawn or whatever, for them to come in less than 24 hours notice. That's why, and that's pretty standard among contracts. If you look at state contracts in the IT sector, believe it or not, this hourly rate is low. Ms. Racine looks at those all the time. She may want to comment to that, but it's pretty staggering. We encourage our students go into the IT world. Good money to be made there. So it's not out of bounds. In fact, I would say it's lower than most of the scope. So again, to have access to somebody who we call both an archaeologist, because they can dig out of the old system, but this person was also one of the original architects of our clay term system. So who better to help us move out of the old and into the new?
Okay.
So I guess the only question is, are we creating an unfair labor practice by doing this according to the contract?
My question is, what defines consulting with the union? Does that have to be a private meeting between district staff and them? Can that just be discussion at a public meeting? What determines consulting with them? If they have an opportunity to speak to this, does that?
I think they probably had to at least mention it to them before bringing the contract to us.
But legally is my question.
But
maybe the attorney can help us with that.
Mr. Sykes? I can't even see Mr. Sykes. Mr. Sykes, have you got any?
Well, normally consulting, they should have been notified ahead of time. I would potentially say it was on the agenda. It's not looking at a full-time position. What my suggestion would be is that because of the critical nature of it, go ahead and proceed as it's been recommended, and let's contact Mr. Hulshauser tomorrow and get a second opinion on how to proceed with this, because it strikes me, based upon the statements of Dr. Legutko, the critical nature of this. If we simply don't do this, this puts the entire system into a tailspin right before Christmas and at the end of this year. My recommendation is to adopt it, contact Mr. Hulshauser. If he sees any immediate problems, we can take immediate corrective steps.
Okay. I'm good with that. Okay, so any other comments?
Well, I haven't said anything, but
Ms.
I
Sutter,
just
that's
want to say a couple things about this. Number one, to think that we had, what was it, a 4-month contract before, and we were told that that was going to be beneficial and the training and so forth, and now we're saying, well, you can't train it because it's blah, 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 blah. I feel like, I think we deleted the programmer analyst allocation, is that right? That was in the big $1 million savings. So then we have this man for 4 months, and that was supposed to kind of take care of it so somebody else could know what he knows. Maybe they won't learn it all, but there should be a start there. So now we're asked to spend another up to $50,000 on this. It seems that over the last year or two, when we get in a tight spot, we run to DES in Tallahassee, and I don't want that to get to be a habit-forming action from this district, that every time we turn around we're hiring DES because we can't hire the employee back. I don't want, we need to be careful with that, because that's money going out the door. Now, on the other hand, when I first looked at this, I thought, oh gosh, here we go again. But we have to take care of our employees. They have to have their paychecks. So I thought, well, and I told Mr. Hendrick this. I'm not saying anything I didn't say to him on the phone. I said, I feel like the board is being, we're over a barrel on this one. Right. We cannot let our employees, we cannot run the risk of not getting their payroll done. But now, so I thought, well, I said, I'll support this, not willingly, but I'll support it because I don't want to hurt our employees. But now tonight, we got a curveball here. I hadn't heard a word about this unfair labor practice. If we had had any idea before, we would have had a chance to talk to our labor attorney. It's not really fair to ask Mr. Sykes because labor law is not his thing. So we're sitting here, and I think you said the same thing. We're afraid that if we vote for this, we're going to get charged with an unfair labor practice. Our attorney, though, is saying, go ahead and do it, and then we'll call the labor attorney tomorrow and see. But see, this whole situation has got us in a very awkward position. So all I can say is I guess we better just follow the advice of Mr. Sykes and let the chips fall where they may, because we cannot run the risk of the employees not getting their payroll. We don't really have a choice. We're being... We're over a barrel on this one.
Okay. Any other comments?
I don't think it was handled right. It wasn't planned.
Okay.
Wasn't properly thought out.
Okay, so I have a motion for approval by Ms. Condon.
Before we go further,
yeah.
Mr. Sykes, after you talk to Mr. Holthauser tomorrow, would you email us and let us know the status?
I'm gonna have a meeting tomorrow.
If you can get in touch with him.
If I can get hold of him, I'm gonna have a meeting tomorrow with Mr. Van Zant, and I'll contact Mr. Holshauser, and I'll contact you immediately once we've had that discussion.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So I have a motion for approval by Ms. Condon, a second by Ms. Gilhausen. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, moving on. The next item up is D3, Human Resources Special Action. There is none. Moving on to item D4 is a public hearing to approve as advertised amendments to School Board Policy 10.1.07, the non-discrimination. So I'm going to open the public hearing at this time, and if there's anybody in the audience that would like to speak to this item, You are free to do so. Okay, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval.
I'll second.
Motion for approval by Ms. Studdard, a second by Ms. Gilhousen. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, the next item up under Business Affairs is D5, which is another public hearing to approve as advertised amendments to the 2015-2016 Special Policies and Procedures Manual. I will open the public hearing for comments. Anybody like to speak to this item? Okay, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
I have a motion for approval by Ms. Karakis
Second.
and a second by Ms. Studdard. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. We are moving into presentations from the audience. I have several cards here, and so we will start off with Tracy Butler. Oh, you have more than one? Oh, yes. One for CCEA. I'll let you start with that one. And then you can go right into the second one for CESPA.
I don't think I have anything for CCA tonight. No, I don't. Okay, so I'll just go into the CESPA one. A couple of other things I wanted to say for the record to Mr. and Mrs. Mackey. I feel bad what they're going through, but I did want to clarify something, and that is, and this is CCA, sorry. I see I can't even keep up. You guys are job security
CCA,
for me.
Okay.
CCA. Mr. and Ms. Mackey, I wanted to let them know that I apologize for anything that they're going through. I'm sorry for what they're going through, but our situation with with Coach Hall didn't have anything to do with that situation. And so, and then I wanted to say another thing about that, and that is when an employee is disciplined under Sunshine Law, their discipline is shrouded for 10 days, which is why when you receive that information, it usually says confidential, don't read the name. But then I go and pull up that school board agenda today for the first time since it's been posted, and I see Mr. Hall's entire agreement is back up there so everybody else can see. So just for the record, we shroud personal records, personnel records for 10 days. It's under Sunshine Law, and I did not look it up, but I can look it up for you. I'll come back for CESPA.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Wanda Clymer.
Hi, my name is Wanda Clymer, and my address is on the card.
Okay.
And tonight, I would like to make some clarifications to what was spoken of at the last meeting, where bus drivers and teachers were talked about, where a bus driver is not full-time, but a teacher is. Because the bus driver gets 6 hours guaranteed, a teacher is 7.5. And before I go any further, I want teachers to know I am not in any way degrading them, nor Mr. Warrenberg, at all, and never have I, and never will I. But on September 2nd, 2014, Mr. Warrenberg himself told Channel 4 News that bus drivers were needed and all of his full-time positions had been filled. And I will read to you exactly what was said. Warrenberg said the department has all of the full-time driver positions covered, but if any of them call in sick or take off an extended period of time, a substitute driver is the go to fill in. So therefore, I feel, as do other bus drivers, when we were told at the last meeting that we were not full-time drivers, we were not full-time employees, that was a wrong statement. Because as long as I've been working, full-time is 40 hours. I am a full-time employee. Okay, and back to that. We were also told, the statement was made that we were given opportunity to make more hours by doing double backs. That is also a wrong statement, so let me clarify that for you. When a bus driver is given a double back, that is added stress because you have a schedule to keep. You cannot get out there and lollygag taking these children home. You have to go, stop, go, stop, go, stop. You can't take your time because you do have to double back. And the only time you would ever get any extra hours is if you got fortunate enough to get a junior high. But if you have to double back on high school or elementary, you still have to make it to your junior high on time. So, therefore, there are no extra hours in that. The other statement that was made was cleaning our buses, that drivers were complaining because Mr. Warrenberg asked them to clean their own buses. Wrong again. They were asked to clean spare buses. Spare buses are cleaned by subs to give subs extra hours. Drivers, that is in our day-to-day. We don't have janitors to clean our buses like a teacher has to clean their classroom. If they puke on our bus, pee on our bus, poop on our bus, that is our responsibility. In between every route in the morning, I have to hurry and sweep my bus so that my next route does not get on that bus and see the land of dirt that's on it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Amy Smith.
Hi, my name's Amy Smith, and my address is on file. And as well, I'm going to do some clarification. No, my arm was not twisted to become a bus driver. I became a bus driver because I love kids and because of the circumstances with my child. I needed something with a little bit more flexibility. But when I was hired, I was told we got pay steps every year. Been here for 4 years, haven't seen one. Second, I was told if I had any college background, didn't say I had an AA or an AS. I have college experience. I'm a CNA, I have my phlebotomy, I have my med tech, and I was also going as an RN. Did not quite reach my AA on that yet. Planning on getting it, but I didn't get that $1 more an hour. I'm more qualified than someone with an AA on that bus. If an emergency arrives, I would be able to stay more calm. I'm pretty much the nurse on that bus. Person with an AA don't know how to do all that medical training. They don't have it all. So why would they get the $1 extra instead of someone that has some medical experience for an emergency? Another thing is, it was brought up about IT, how they get advances. When, not if, but when I do my RN, am I going to get any incentive, a great big pay increase like some of these other people have? I don't see it. The RNs that work for Clay County, they don't make squat. It's sad for their life-threatening issues that they deal with, like my child is one of them. Another thing, on when I did my interview, I was never told I wouldn't get paid for those 2 months of training. So I went 2 months without a paycheck, going through all this training. Yes, I got a $500 thing when, after being here for 90 days, I believe it was. I got the $500. But that $500 doesn't add up to the time that I put in doing my training and in service. And another thing is, why in the world is a county worker, county employee, making over $100,000 a year? When I pulled up my public record and pulled up the public records that I gotten, I was floored. No one in here is working for a major corporation as a CEO. You do not need to be making $100,000 or over a year. Thank you.
Thank you. Teresa Ace.
I'm Teresa Ace. My address is on file, 5908 Plymouth Island. Okay, I am also a school bus driver. I've been with Clay County for over 20 years, and I've actually been driving for over 38 years. That's a long time, let me tell you. Okay, I guess you could say it's my career choice. It has been. My choice has made it possible to help put my husband through school and raise our kids. He is a PE. I'm sure you know what a PE does and how much it takes to become a PE, since you mentioned that in your presentation last time. Okay, I believe you know that I have numerous friends who are professionals who probably make, well, I know they do, make a lot more money than a lot of you people in this room. And I have never been belittled by any of them about being a bus driver. In fact, they think it's cool. You know, we have a lot of camaraderie on that. And this job is a professional job. But we have to do numerous requirements. Every year we have to do a DOT physical, the mandatory schooling, evaluations of our driving. Our department is overwhelmed with keeping employees up to date with these requirements. And this I can say about Mr. Warnberg, my Department of Transportation Director. He has been trying to explain to the school board how hard it is for him to hire new employees due to having the money incentive. He has succeeded in helping for new hires when the contract is ratified. I believe he has got no problem with wanting to see the rest of his team being recognized for their efforts. We have been not blemishing him or bashing him. I've actually commended to a lot of people that I thought it was pretty cool. He was going to benefit his own department. He did it the right way. He went through the contract bargaining. Some other people didn't do that, which I found out. They just changed the band. And I just wanted to know that the caddy that's been sitting outside, the support personnel and the school board, that's mine. I know some people have been complaining about that. Oh well. I work hard for my money, and I have put in more than 50 to 60 hours numerous times this year already. Of course, you know, we get overtime. We're the only department that gets to overtime, so that's pretty cool. So that, I think, really qualifies for full-time. Oh, good. Tells them I'm going to hurry up. The insurance is my heartburn. I came here when they were talking about the insurance. That's why I was showing up. Because that thing, you know, for over 20 years, it keeps going. This is the worst it's been. And I really am glad that you guys approved that. They can go back to the board and see if we can't get that fixed. That was my main concern, I guess you could say. And do I love my job? I guess so. I'm still here. Still doing it. They keep saying, when are you going to quit? I said, when I pry my cold, dead hands off the grinding wheel. Bye, y'all.
Thank you. Rebecca Smith.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca Smith, and my address is on file. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening, and I would also like to say thank you to the board for going out for bids for the insurance, because that is sucking the life out of our paychecks. However, I would like to say, not only to you, but Mr. Warnberg, at no time do I ever mean you any disrespect at all. I know that you have tried to get our band up so we can get drivers. It's been alleged here we've been disrespectful to him. I take offense to that. When I've had an issue and I had a question, I have had meetings with him and asked him those questions, and he's given me my answers. And to say otherwise, it upsets me. Now, with that being said, nobody twisted my arm to come back here to work. I remember working here before, back in the day. I enjoyed my job, so that's why I returned. At no time was I told my insurance was going to go up every year. It was going to suck the life out of our paychecks. No time was I, when I worked here before, we got our step increased every year. Every year. So at no time did I realize that there was an issue or a problem here with the county. Nobody told me. But yes, nobody twisted my arm. I am a professional. I do what's required of me to hold this job. I take my training, online courses, and I do what needs to be done to have this job. I treat my children with the utmost respect and show them love. We help them with their homework on the bus. It is not just a driving job for me. I take this personal. I want to make a difference in a child's life. And I have. I drive for Bannerman. I've had several of my students return back to their schools. I've encouraged them to make better choices. Rise above. Somebody says something you don't like, let it go in one ear, out the other. Rise above it. I tell them. But I feel that what happened at the last school board meeting, there is no playbook. Nobody asked me to speak to you. No union member, no rep, nobody. I come to you as a citizen of Clay County and as an employee of the county to let you know what we're going through. And we get ridiculed for it, and that's not right. There's no respect in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Rena Lee Paiva.
Good evening, Rena Lee Paiva, President of the CCEA. I was actually in a really good mood today. I even spent all morning with Dr. Weiskopf, and we actually did really good work, right? And I come to this meeting tonight, and really I was just going to talk to remind everybody that we were talking about a workshop, and I didn't want that forgotten. And I'm really concerned how poorly people are treated. So, I'm going to say that the teachers still fill a bus, and we are going to the rally in Tally, and I know Mrs. Condon's going. And we're standing up for public education, and I would expect everybody in this district to do the same thing. I'm a bit disappointed that Mr. Van Sant didn't mention our meeting in his superintendent updates, because I thought we had a very good meeting. So I'm hoping that somewhere in your comments that are coming up that we're going to discuss, in all honesty, this workshop and to try to get this district financially solvent again, which is the intention of the CCEA. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Paiva. And last but certainly not least, Ms. Butler, do you have anything else? Okay, we're done. Okay. Superintendent requests. I don't have a card. What was your name then? I don't have a card. Hold on a minute. Let me go back through here. I'm sorry. What was your name again? Kim Stacy. Oh, I am sorry. I missed it. Kim Stacy. Somehow it got shuffled in the mix there. Sorry about that.
Hey, my name is Kim Stacy. My address and records on the record. I heard a lot of words thrown out at the last school board meeting. Designated, reasonable, rational, disrespected, insult, truth in advertisement, upfront and truthful. Lot of words. Just want to say that you are not being reasonable or rational if you think that the employees or the people of Clay County doesn't realize that the clarification from the last school board meeting was a planned attack and was a designated, disrespectful, insulting, and not upfront or truthful. As my mama would say, plain hogwash. And it was a way for y'all to consecrate your employees. So just remember that when your employees or Just remember that your employees are mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, sisters, brothers, grandmas, dads. We're generations that have grew up here in Clay County, and our family and friends see our struggles and our outrage with this administration. And believe me, you will see our outrage during the voting season.
Thank you, Ms. Stacy. Okay, Superintendent requests.
I know I've got some senior staff, at least one with something to say. I'll start with Ms. Legutko and just go down, and again, if you don't have anything you'd like to say, just tap the guy next to you.
I think it's working. There you go. Thank you very much. I just wanted to add, I just wanted to give you an update as we get close to the end of this current year, annual year, December, not fiscal year, end of year. As you know, the original budget that I submitted, our fund balance is projected to be at 2.35%. I wanted to give you the factors that influenced our current budget. The compensation of the 1.2 million PLC, the new charter school, 2.6 million, our self-insurance deficit, 1.2, of course maintaining that self-insurance fund, our McKay scholarships that have increased over the several years and continues to go up. And of course, our large unbudgeted terminal leave payout that we had at the end of this fiscal year. We do have a financial stability plan, and I wanted to just go over a few key items that I have been doing or have actively been involved in. Where the charter schools, their FTE, I am closely tracking that to ensure that we're providing the dollars that they're actually earning versus, I am reviewing the expenditures and encumbrances on a monthly basis. Our school and the school and district level positions, of course, are being reviewed by the deputy superintendent before our posting of any vacant positions. We are utilizing any federal or restricted funds first. Myself, the Assistant Superintendent of Business Affairs, will approve any budget changes in excess of $50,000 to $100,000, so we are monitoring those transfers. Our district senior staff are reviewing all contracted services. We do have a team in place that we review every single contract that does come through for approval. And we reduce them accordingly if necessary. And of course, we are replacing the legacy. We're moving towards replacing the legacy system that we do have with a new ERP system that I believe will allow us for enhanced monitoring and greater accountability. I wanted to give you a status as of November because you've got my financials for this month. I wanted to let you know that our collections are in line with the prior year, so we're on task with collecting our revenues. Expenditures are also in line with prior year's expenditures, so we're following the line as we go through the fiscal year. And based on our current trend of revenues and expenditures, we are still in line to meet the expected fund balance reserve of 2.35 at the end of June 30th, 2016. With that, I will pass it on to the next. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Legutko.
Just a couple of quick clarifications about a previous presentation. District level, same thing you did. District level administrators get paid in accordance with the salary schedule. You don't get to move supplements from the school level to the district level. Each position is paid in accordance with the salary schedule for either support instructional or administrative. For example, if a classroom assistant gets paid as a classroom assistant on the salary schedule, a teacher gets paid as a teacher on the salary schedule. If a classroom assistant decides to change their career path and becomes a teacher, they then get paid as a teacher. If the teacher decides to become an assistant principal, then they become on the assistant principal salary schedule. If they become a principal, the same thing. If they move to another job, they get that same salary. Since so much has been made about my particular salary, I decided to take a look at all of human resources and add it together. And from last year to this year, there's a savings of $70,000 between the people that were in human resources last year and the people that are in human resources this year. The one thing that I found missing from the presentation in regard to CESPA and the lengthy process was all the language that was accomplished. There was a lot of good stuff that was done, including, I really respect Ms. Smith and her presentation today, recognizing Mr. Warrenberg and the differences there and having a different tenor about the discussion, and the fact that we did, if approved and if ratified, move bus driver starting salary to fifth year. And so a lot of good was in fact done. Obviously things stalled once you started talking dollars, and that's what it really came down to. In regard to the CESPA contract issue and the DES contract, I'd remind the board that we presently have no allocation for a programmer analyst. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Hendrick.
So just a clarification in terms of, there was a comment earlier about data that was reported to the Department of Education. We don't get to pick and choose what we send to the department. The required data fields are extremely specific, as outlined by the requirements for DOE. We can't submit less and we can't submit more. We have to submit what they ask for. So in terms of public records request, if you got something from the state, that's based on what the state asked us to send them. We have no control over sending anything additional or less than.
Keeps turning it on. I don't think I have anything to add to what I said last month, except for Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Superintendent?
I was just going to mention to you that our first District Advisory Council meeting is scheduled for January 7th. And I've heard from every one of your appointees, and they are all going to be in attendance, so I look forward to meeting them and working with them.
Great.
Okay. Well, I don't have anything other at this time, but I will just say this. I appreciate the comments Mr. Merrill did make last month. I appreciate the clarification of the senior staff. I received a lot of positive feedback from that clarification. Our administrators sit here month after month and support the people that work for them, and I think Mr. Merrill did just that. I have nothing but the highest respect for Mr. Warrenberg, our Director of Transportation. I think he does an excellent job. We just advertised for a position to head up accounts payable. We had some great people apply. Some didn't meet qualifications for different reasons. Some weren't just the right person, and when we're picking somebody to lead a group of our employees, we want to pick just the right person. And so Mr. Warrenberg has stepped up and has held that similar position in 2 other counties. He's known around here for helping us budget and be a good steward of your school board funds that you receive, so he'll be doing some double duty over the next several months, helping with purchasing and accounts payable, leading in that department, helping Ms. Lagutko as she continues to get a good handle on her job. She's 6-7 months into this with us. It's been a great team member, and I think that's natural for any leader when month after month they hear about somebody that works for them and does a great job. So I'm glad to hear that all the bus drivers have nothing but respect for Mr. Warrenberg and appreciate him. So if that was if the last several months what we've heard has somehow been misunderstood, then great. Happy for that, and glad we're all rowing the boat in the same direction. And I don't have anything else unless y'all have a question of me, other than Merry Christmas. We have a cool little video. It's about probably 10 seconds we're going to send out tomorrow that we filmed yesterday with all our principals and senior leadership in the district to our fine employees, and you'll be on copy too.
Okay. School board requests. I'll tell you what, I'll go last. Ms. Studdard, would you like to go first?
I do want to say one thing. We're going to be losing an employee this month to retirement, and I threatened to put a lock on the door, but it didn't work. And Nancy Racine is going to leave us, and she's been back there smiling the whole meeting. But I just want to go on the record saying that you are going to be greatly missed, and it's scary to over the last year or two, all the knowledge that we have lost due to retirement. And I know good people will step in and come in and learn their jobs, but it's really frightening to see how much knowledge that we have lost because, I mean, you just can't know everything that's in their brain. And, you know, with Nancy, I could just call her and she just knows stuff. And so, I don't know. Nancy, quit laughing. But I do want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and I hope you have a safe, happy, and restful holiday. And I'll see you next year.
I would echo both of those sentiments. Nancy, thank you for everything. I've enjoyed getting to re-know you over the last year. Nancy was Mrs. Racine to me for a long, long time. She was a mom, just another mom in our youth group with her daughter, but that was years ago. But it's been a joy over the past year to work with you, Nancy. So thank you, and also Merry Christmas, and have a safe break. Mrs. Karakas and I got to enjoy the Argyle Elementary Christmas program the other night, and if you get an opportunity to see their dramatics club that meets after school do a production, they are incredible. I think they could have been on Broadway. I mean, they had probably 12 students with lots and lots of lines that didn't forget them. They had the cutest little third grader that played Charlie Brown, and they had Lucy was they all were just great, and it was a real joy. And then their music program, their music teacher over there is phenomenal. Mrs. Roman told me that she is from Douglas Anderson herself, and so she production was really her thing, and it was a great experience, and so that was wonderful. And then the final thing I wanted to say is a big congratulations to Mrs. Terry Sapp. She is a teacher at Keystone Elementary School, a very beloved teacher, and she was awarded on 12/8. She was awarded the Governor's Shine Award for being a distinguished educator. And so congratulations, Mrs. Sapp. It's very well deserved.
All right, you're all going to hate me tonight because I have a list.
Oh, dear Lord.
I do, and I apologize. Well, the first thing is let's pull out our calendars and talk about a date for this workshop that we told.
I thought we were going to wait until January to do that. We agreed we'd bring it up at the first meeting in January.
Did we say that, or did
Yeah,
we
we
say
did.
we would set it for January?
No, we said we would discuss it at the first meeting in January.
Then we can do that if everybody's on board with that. We can set it in January. All right, my next thing. Mr. Brodsky, have we gotten any applications for the attorney position? We haven't heard anything about it. I know it closed November 30th.
We have, and I asked Mr. Brodsky to organize those. I gave him a few criteria to kind of flip through those and make y'all we're going to send you in the next couple of days, probably tomorrow. I hadn't asked him exactly where he is on this project because he's not been doing anything this week. He's, just up there in the ivory tower with no projects to work with.
Eating bonbons.
Right. But the areas that are important to you as board members, family law, legislative body kind of law. I forget what they all were. There were 4 or 5. I asked him to kind of quickly summarize those. So we'll get you, I think there were 15 or 16 applicants, and get you a little cover sheet to kind of show you who's got what experience, how long they have experience with the Florida bar. Your job description says they have a minimum of 5 years, and we'll shoot those to you, and you can come back in January and tell us what you want to do.
We did, let me just ask, we did want to see all the applications, even the ones
Sure.
that didn't qualify. So
Sure.
just send
You're
those
gonna
to
get
us so
everything.
we can see.
We'll get you
I
a nice
appreciate
heavy
that.
envelope.
Thanks. A question about Brandon, Brandon Mackey. Did anybody interview him? And I was listening to his mom, and I would think if you're doing an investigation about what happened there, somebody would have talked to him also. Did anybody actually talk to him, or is she
I'm really
correct on that?
not going to discuss
just
that
look
any
into it
further.
for me.
I have looked into the whole situation. I'm very satisfied with the outcome, and I don't have anything to add to what I told you last month.
All right. Well, it seems to me like she's very upset there, and if we didn't at least interview her child, she may have reason to be upset. I think as a parent, I would feel the same way. So if we didn't, somebody needs to maybe address it. The next thing on my list was Ronald McDonald House. Our CCEA members have a box at every one of our schools collecting toiletries for Ronald McDonald House, and I'd like to remind everybody to please bring in donations for them. And I guess in line with that is, I don't know if anybody knows, but CCA has a brand new building and a new location, and from what I heard, it's near the new charter school, which seems kind of funny to me. But anyway, let's load up their new building with lots of supplies for Ronald McDonald House, and congratulations to you on that's a great accomplishment. So good for you guys. And let me think. Nancy, we're going to miss you. Have fun playing tennis 24/7. And we had a good workshop out in FSBA. Ms. Gilhausen, Mr. Van Zant, Ms. Studdard were there, and I think it went really well. And the last thing is just Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to everybody. Be safe and enjoy.
Thank you. Ms. Gilhausen?
While we're talking about FSBA, I met a colleague board member from Duval County who recommended a book to me that I wanted to recommend to you all. It's called What School Boards Can Do. If you want to write that down, get yourself a copy. I've started reading my copy, and I'd like for us as a board in the coming year to look at setting some workshops that would help us to set goals for the district together, and just help us to kind of be that governing vision casting body that we're supposed to be. So if you guys would join me in reading that book, and we can set our schedules accordingly. And then on a lighter note, I had the opportunity to attend Christmas Under the Stars at Lake Asbury Elementary, and it was lots of fun, lots of parents, lots of proud parents. People camped out for an hour before it started to get a good seat, so it was a lot of fun and very festive. So I hope everybody has a safe and Merry Christmas. I hope you get to spend it with the people that you love, and we'll see you in the coming year.
Okay. Just a couple things. I also want to just wish Nancy Racine a bright future and enjoy your retirement. We are going to miss you, and I appreciate all that you've done for as long as I've known you. One of the things that I just want to make mention, there's been a lot going on in the past couple weeks around our country that it seems that school districts have been targeted, and I know you guys are all aware of it, and it's just really kind of weighed very heavy on my heart. We saw what happened in the Los Angeles School District, and I just want to remind people, to stay vigilant, stay safe, and just, you never know what's going to happen, but just stay vigilant, stay safe. And the other thing is I just want to, I also did attend Ridgeview High School's Christmas concert at First Baptist Church. They have it there every year, and since my kids went to Ridgeview, I was there every year, and I think I've attended it every single year because I'm also a member of the choir, so I'm always there with the music ministry helping them out. But as usual, every year it's an outstanding music concert, so it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed being there. And with that, I also would like to wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year. And with that, we will go on to Mr. Sykes.
Two things. One, I've already sent an email to Mr. Hulshauser, and I've included Mr. Broski and Mr. Van Zant, and I've tried to set up a meeting first thing tomorrow morning. So I'm going to meet immediately after the meeting, meet with Mr. Broski, make sure we get the fact scenario to him so we get a good opine so I can get out of the board ASAP.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two, this is on behalf of Nancy. Nancy, go Knowles.
Go Knowles.
I'm gonna miss you. I have nothing else.
Okay, thank you. With that, this meeting is adjourned. Charlie, can